Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen, and that's much better. Anyway, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am back, and today it's time to talk about Kennywood, my home park. Some of you might remember I did that documentary on the Phantom's Revenge a while ago. It's time to talk about Kennywood once again because they've got something huge in the works that they've been teasing lately. So I figured we could talk about it a little bit and get some speculation going and kind of fuel the fire of our excitement a little bit. I'm going unscripted for this because I'm just gonna go over here some of the rumors that I've managed to accumulate and just kind of what other people are saying. And we're gonna go right back to about 3 years ago because there was a leaked layout of a roller coaster that was supposed to be done by RMC. It was supposed to go down behind the log jammer into that ravine there, and people said it was going to go through one of the train maintenance buildings back there. I don't know how true that was, but there was a leaked layout that was making the rounds on sites like Screamscape and other places around the internet for a long time, and I kept telling my friends, I said, oh, next year's going to be the year for the roller coaster. Noah's Ark refurbishment. Next year's going to be the year for the roller coaster. Thomastown. Next year is going to be the year for the roller coaster, and it looks like it is. I've been saying it for so long, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. So, but they're finally teasing something, so let's go ahead and talk about what that could be. Jumping right off from what I just said about RMC, Rocky Mountain Construction coming in. There was a convention held recently for, I think it was American Coaster Enthusiasts. I do not remember what the event name was. I think it was Coaster Bash, but Nick Paradise, the official spokesman for Kennywood, he's like the head of Kennywood's PR department, he got up on stage and in a rather humorous way, he announced that the next project would not be an RMC T-Rex, an RMC Raptor, or a hybrid. And what does that leave? That leaves Topper Track. So some people said it could be Topper Track, a coaster like Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City that goes down into the ravine. I thought that would be really cool, but it doesn't look like that anymore because recent reports have been saying that RMC is completely out of the running for this new roller coaster. But we'll come back to that in a second. So Kennywood's been kind of barren on any new roller coasters in recent years. The last roller coaster they got was Skyrocket in 2010. That was a Premier Rides Skyrocket prototype. That was actually the prototype of the Skyrocket 2 models that we see at a lot of parks like Busch Gardens Tampa, some of the Six Flags parks. So that was actually a prototype. Well, that's why all the other ones are called Skyrocket 2s, because the one at Kennywood was the Skyrocket 1. And whether or not you like it, that's your opinion. That's not the point of this conversation. That was the last coaster they got, and I think we can go ahead and rule out Premier Rides for this next attraction, because not only because that was the last coaster they got, and I think they would want to change things up, but Skyrocket's actually been having some problems recently. As of this recording, Skyrocket is down at the park. It's been down for, I think, a week or two now. One of the motors, the LIM launch motors, I think burned out. There were some photos going around the internet, lots of smoke coming from them, and they did report that they would have to ship one of the motors, I think, to Germany to get repaired, and they're waiting for that to come back. So for the time being, Skyrocket is down, and I don't think Premier Rides is going to come in. Now, however, that does not rule out the possibility of a launch. So, yeah, Skyrocket is a coaster with a launch and inversions, but they could do that on a grander scale because, let's be real here, the plot of land that the log jammer sits on is way bigger than Skyrocket's plot. So they announced that Logjammer would be closing, and people got all up in arms about that. They didn't want to accept the fact that it had pretty much reached the end of its operational life, even though it was operating since the 70s, and those log flumes are getting very, very difficult to maintain anymore, especially for the smaller parks that have them, because Arrow's been out of business for, what, almost 20 years, so the parts would have to be custom ordered, and I can only imagine the exorbitant prices associated with that. So it makes sense. I mean, as a Pittsburgh native, Logjammer was a part of my childhood, and I was sad to see it go, but I try my best to look to the future and try to keep an optimistic outlook on what they could do, and considering that it's pretty much all but confirmed that this is going to be a new roller coaster. The hype is through the roof. So let's jump a little bit forward now to closer to the present day. There was speculation going all over the place about what this coaster could be. Some people were saying it would be a coaster by S&S, but I see no evidence for this, especially because the park seems to be teasing something big, and I don't think the owner of Kennywood, Palace Entertainment, is really on good terms with not Premier Rides, S&S at the moment, because another one of their parks, Dutch Wonderland in Lancaster, PA, just opened a S&S family invert, and it was supposed to open last year. It's called Merlin's Mayhem. It was supposed to open last year, and the construction just took forever. It was delayed over and over again. It did not open in 2017 as planned and as advertised. Many people got upset about that. And it opened this year, and it looks like a fun ride, but that doesn't change the fact that I think S&S took too long there. So they may have soured their relation with Palace for a little while there. For a while, at least. We could see some S&S projects in the future. I do not want a 4D free spin at Kennywood. Kennywood is not a Six Flags. We don't need those. Can't even call it the Joker because that's copyrighted. I kid. So, back on the main topic here, what could it be? RMC, some people are still saying that. I don't think it's going to be an RMC. People are saying it was confirmed that RMC is completely out of the running at this point. I haven't found that evidence, but it seems believable. More evidence popped up in the past few weeks before Kennywood started their teasing advertising campaign for this coaster, which I'll get to in just a minute here. When they drained the lagoon at the center of the park by the Sky Coaster before the before the normal season began, and people were wondering why. Well, we now know why, because there are footers in the lagoon. Footers for that. Originally people were saying, oh, it's just going to be like a deck for the barbecue restaurant next to it. No, those footers are way too big for a deck. Those are coaster footers, and they are circular. That is, make a note of that. That is something that we'll come to in just a second. So there are footers in the lagoon, and various markers have been showing up all around the park. Probably locations for future footers to go. And some people have said that due to complications with the fact that part of Kennywood's ravine there on that side of the park is in Duquesne, and they have different rules, I think, regarding construction and what can be built there. They just didn't want to deal with that, so they moved the entire coaster back into the park. So what we're looking at now, I think, is going to be more of like a sprawling, wide-open coaster design that takes us over the walkways of the park and around some of the other attractions. Kennywood's going to have to get really creative with this design. The current markers look to go out from the Logjammer plot over the lagoon, where those footers are, and then they wrap around the merry-go-round, back over the walkway, behind the Aero 360, and kind of by where Kittyland is, and then finally back over to the Logjammer plot. So what we're looking at here is something that could incorporate a few inversions, maybe a launch. I'm guessing there's going to be one launch in there, maybe a lift hill, but this is more of like a sprawling coaster layout that is really going to interact with other attractions in the park, and I think this is an amazing idea. They could really do some incredible things with this, but again, it all just has to come down to what the park decides to do with it. So we can completely rule out RMC at this point. If you still want to think an RMC is going there, be my guest. I kind of gave up hope on that a while ago, but if you want to hold out hope, go for it. The common consensus in the past, I'd say 2 weeks, has been an Intamin Blitz coaster, like Maverick at Cedar Point or Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Why is this a thing? Well, Maverick has small trains, so that would fit well with a smaller park like Kennywood, because I cannot see like a 4 or 5 car train soaring over the midways. There's not enough space for that. We would need a smaller train with a smaller track, and Maverick has circular supports like the ones in the lagoon. Also, before I mentioned that I wasn't sure whether there'd be a launch or a lift hill, with Maverick there's both. It's a lift hill, but you get launched up it. I could see that happening at Kennywood. However, there's another reason that I think it could be a Blitz coaster, because look at the current design with it wrapping around the merry-go-round, and behind Aero 360. That requires a very tight, compact coaster layout. And what do Maverick and Cheetah Hunt have in common? Very tight, abrupt turns that navigate around and over terrain. That would be perfect. That fits the profile perfectly. And of course, there's another belief here that we have to address. It's another one that I personally think. It's between either the Blitz coaster or this one that I'm about to say. If it's not a Blitz coaster, I think we're looking at a modern Vekoma coaster. Something like Lech coaster or Lech coaster, however you say it. A Vekoma Bermuda Blitz. A modern looping Vekoma coaster. I can't personally name the most recent Vekoma coaster that was built in the United States. So I can only imagine how eager they are to get back in the North American market, because right now we're in a coaster enthusiast community that's tainted by the infamous SLCs and boomerangs, and I think they should try to move away from that. And there's no better way to do that than to pick a park to showcase their modern work in the United States, not just in Europe. So personally, I'm actually hoping more for a Vekoma Bermuda Blitz, because I would love a Blitz coaster from Intamin like Maverick, but we need a new Vekoma here in the States, let's be real. The only thing we have left to address is Kennywood teasing their newest roller coaster, because they finally announced that the project 2 weeks ago. No, 1 week ago, I'm sorry. They're doing this creative like marketing campaign to drum up hype for it, where it looks like a lottery scratch-off card. Our first number that was revealed last week is 197. Now, what could that mean? Personally, I think it's the drop height. Well, I thought it was the drop height initially. And then I started thinking, what if they do incorporate the ravine? 197 could just be the lift hill, and then the drop could be a different number. Some people were saying it was like the number of footers or something, but I don't think they would get that in depth, especially when they're posting it on their Facebook page, which is full of the GP just liking all their and commenting on all their posts. That would be too in depth for them. So our second number that was just revealed earlier today, as of this recording, is 3. That's it, the number 3. So what could that mean? Right off the bat, I think it's the number of inversions. 3 inversions for a Blitz coaster sounds about right. So I think that would be fine. Some people are saying it's the number of launches. I don't think that's right. 3 launches seems a bit excessive, especially for the amount of space that we're given. And I can't even think about another category that 3 could be. Possibly airtime hills, but I don't know if they would even count that. So right now, this is what I believe. Intamin Blitz coaster or Vekoma Bermuda Blitz. 197 foot lift hill height, and 3 inversions. That's what we know so far. So we'll have to see what number they reveal next week. I'll probably make an updated video at some point addressing the new numbers once they're all revealed. But for now, thanks for joining me in this speculation and just talking about my home park here. I'm very glad to see them getting a new roller coaster. It's been far too long. So leave your predictions in the comments. I'll see you all next time. Keep on riding.